Hello, everyone. Welcome to your live player ratings for Nottingham Forest 1, Arsenal 2. We never make it easy, guys. We never make it easy, but Arsenal have secured the 3 points, and we're still in the title race. So make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, get into the chat, and let me know how you guys are thinking and feeling. As I am feeling, my one-word reaction to this is I'm feeling relieved because the end of that game was so shaky. Like, it was so not how it was like their goal came out of the blue and they didn't really threaten us beyond that. Like, I want to say that maybe Raya made one save the entire game, but it just never really felt that comfortable because I was always waiting on that counterattack goal that was coming, and the goal came, and it came from Awani, who scores against us every single time he plays against us. I think that's his third goal, and 3 that he scored against us. So yeah, good for him. Way to go, Arsenal fan. Way to score against us every single time. We're not coming to get you. So yeah, but listen, at the end of the day, it is all about the 3 points, and, Arsenal have not been amazing away from home this season. Last season, we were, like, immaculate away from home. Now we're a little bit like, so I will take the 3 points and walk away, especially because Forest really didn't do anything, which is kind of the story of every single game, but in another sense, we didn't really do anything. We didn't really do anything. I feel like most games for Arsenal are kind of quite similar where you're holding your breath for that moment where you're going to be like it's all clicked. You realize about 15 to 20 minutes in that it's not clicked. If we don't score a goal off of a set piece and break the game open, it becomes incredibly harder. And then we did end up scoring in the second half. Jesus, a very, I would say, good finish at the near post, but Matt Turner, thank you so much. That's what a real Arsenal fan does. You don't score against us, you help us. You score against your team and give us a goal, because Matt Turner was diabolical on his front post there. But we broke the game open finally, and then we scored another goal on a counterattack, which seems to kind of be our bread and butter. If we can get on the counterattack, or we can score on a set piece or a dead ball, because again, that Jesus's goal did come off of a throw-in. He was in offside position on a throw-in, which isn't offside, obviously, and they fell asleep, and he kicks it in the back of the net. So, listen, it's Arsenal. That's just kind of how we are this season. I don't really know what to say. I've waited long enough for the moment where I feel like we're gonna click into gear and look anything like we looked last season, and it just hasn't come. It just hasn't come. It's gonna be very difficult for me to find any individual performances that I felt like really shone or was striking, because to be honest, I think almost everybody was underbaked. That's what I'll say. Underbaked. I feel like, yeah, underbaked. That's what I'll call it. So, get into the chat and let me know how you guys are feeling, are thinking, and stuff like that, because obviously we're going to get into the player ratings in just a second. I just want to make sure I have the other results up so far. Oh, Luton beat Brighton 4-0. Wow. Newcastle are up 3-0 against Aston Villa. Let me turn that shit on. While we're sitting here together and enjoying, our time together, let's put that on. Let me turn this down. So yeah, give me a second, guys. I just want to put that game on and just Unai Emery, what's going on? What's happening? No, I'm just joking. I mean, I have to be petty at the moment because all I really have is pettiness. Because listen, I'm not feeling amazing about our performance, but I also know that there's probably somebody that's like, well, we won, Jessica, we won. What else do you want but the 3 points? And I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, we won. But I think we all can kind of also be like, that was kind of smelly, and we would like to do it in a better way, at some point. But I'm finding it difficult to come up to these player ratings every single time and be miserable about not winning in a certain way. So today I won't do it as much. Let's see. I'm just trying to get to make sure I got that Unai Emery slapping up on my screen, because I'm gonna feast on this, okay? Your girl's hungry and I'm ready to have a feast, okay? Newcastle beating you up at your place is shocking. So there you go. Well, let's see what you guys are saying. C. Walter says, creeping in the right direction. Lynn says, I thought that Odegaard has lost all confidence in front of goal. What do you think? I would say that I feel like the entire front line has fallen off of a cliff. And so that includes Odegaard. The front four, Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka, Jesus, all look like a shadow of themselves. Now, Jesus did get a goal and assist, Saka got a goal. But again, like the Crystal Palace game, we all watched with our eyes and watched what we were seeing. Everybody was taking too long to take shots, or they didn't take shots. They took weird shots, like Saka took one outside of the box that was not on. There was even Odegaard taking weird shots from outside the box, but when they get inside the box, when it's like right there, they don't take the shot. So I think everybody has fallen off of a cliff in terms of like our attacking play is just honestly, it's shit. Like, if I'm gonna be honest with you guys, like I'm not trying to be that person, like I'm really not, but like I can say that like I'm glad that we won the game and I'm like, okay, we got the result. Great, let's go. But equally, I feel like we're playing still kind of shit in the final third. Is that okay to say? Because I feel like some people, if you say that, they're like they get on you about it. But I'm like, we all watched the same game. It wasn't great. O'Malley says Arteta got in Zinni's ass. He has consistently held people on side. Like the Awani goal does come from him not holding the line. And I don't know if that's just a lack of defensive awareness or a fear of the speed. But let's be real. Like, whoever was on that side was not fast. Like, was it not Montiel who was over there that got to that ball? So I don't know if he's afraid of the speed, because when he did that against, I think it was Liverpool, I was like, okay, who was afraid that Salah was going to run beyond him? But I just think Zinchenko just genuinely lacks defensive awareness, and he's not going to get it now. He's like 27 years old. He's not going to like miraculously know how to defend. Like, it's done. He's not going to learn. But I will also say that, listen, I thought Saliba was really poor today, and the goal, the way that it came, underpinned my feeling about his performance. He had a lot of sloppy moments, and it was capitalized on in that moment. So a lot of things had to happen for Zinchenko's mistake to become a goal. And so, yeah, we can definitely look at, Zinchenko and be like, you know, you didn't hold the line, but equally, why is Saliba bumbling around over there? Why does he get bodied by, Awani right there? So there's that. PW says Nottingham Forest were parked the bus. They defended well, and we struggle against those teams. I feel like here's the thing though about like I feel like what we do a lot of times, and ooh, are they about to score? No. Ha. Okay, so I feel like a lot of it for me is like when people do that thing where they're like, well, we're playing against a lot of deep blocks. I'm like, well, why do you think they keep playing deep blocks? Is because we haven't found a way to be better than the deep block. And I do feel like, teams sit back on Manchester City, but they don't look like us. Now, they're a better I would say that they have more quality in their team than we do. That'll be an unpopular people will be, "How can you say that?" But it's just fundamentally true, you guys. Like, we don't have to fight about that. Manchester City are a better team than us, so they don't look as bereft and toothless, and they have a world-class striker, so and they have goals all over the pitch. When we play this way and we play against deep blocks and we don't move the ball fast enough, we take too long to make decisions. Everybody wants to take 4, 5, 6 touches. We don't hit the ball in between the lines with pace. We make it really easy for the opposition. So until we start showing teams that even if you sit in a deep block, it's not going to matter, they're going to continue to do it. So we need to find ways to break this shit down quicker and easier, because I only see a game like this for Manchester City like maybe once a season, maybe twice. For Arsenal, it's almost every single game. And if we don't break the game open with a set piece goal early on, it's this. It's this. And it's not terrible. That's the thing. It's like we're nitpicking. We're talking about an Arsenal team that is in the title race. So we're nitpicking here. So I know some people, oh, well, we won the game. Why do you care? It's like, yeah, because we're a much better side than we were when it was like 2 years ago, where we can buy a win, you know? So we have different problems. We have first world problems now. Our problems are no longer, winning games. They're how we win games. Are we dominant? Like, you know, is this going to translate to a game at the weekend? Do we see a team that's going to be able to beat Liverpool at home? And I think that's the problem that we're having, is that whenever you have a conversation about how we're playing, people will just point to the 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 table and say, "Well, we're up by the top. So what are you complaining about?" I'm like, "We're watching with our eyes. Like, we have first world problems. We're not a terrible team. We're a really, really good team, but are we a great team? Are we an elite team? No, we're not. And some of that is because we are not good enough in the final third, you know? So that's kind of how I view things. Now again, I'm happy about the win. I'm relaxed. We're good, it's fine. But listen, anybody that watched with their eyes, you know, it's there. There was a stat that one of the commentators brought up, that Arsenal before today only had one goal away from home from our center forwards. And I think that, again, like, to pretend as though we don't have, there's something, like everything is just fine, is like a little bit like, it's not, but we're getting the job done. And so it is what it is. Kabui, thank you so much for your super chat. Says we need to tighten up a lot to beat Liverpool. And again, that's the thing. That's the difference, is like, we're good enough where even if we don't play our best, we're going to beat a team like Nottingham Forest. But playing like this was not good enough to beat West Ham. Playing like this was not good enough to beat Fulham at the beginning of the season. Playing like this, was not good enough to beat Liverpool a couple of weeks ago. So, I just want to keep that in mind, because Nottingham Forest are not a good side. They came into this game in 16th, so we're supposed to be beating this team, and it should be easy. Um, so yeah, Jude K says in the final third, we need to create chaos. Our patterns of play are scripted. Ivy says agreed. Final third is still a problem. Johnny D says you're not watching with your eyes. Team played well, did everything it couldn't attack today. That is the quality. No, I'm watching with my eyes, because I mean, I have eyes and glasses on, so of course I'm watching with my eyes. I would say that because the majority of my timeline and the majority of my group chats and what I actually saw all kind of align, and also what's going on in the chat, if you want to say that you think that everything is just fine and what we're watching is how things should be, and breaking down a deep block is so difficult that we should not have had a single shot on target in like the first 70 minutes of the game, then that's your reality. My reality is that it's difficult to break down deep blocks, but we make it more difficult by passing the ball slowly, not creating chaos, not we're not creating enough pressure in the final third. We're making it very easy for Nottingham Forest to sit in numbers. And so that's my reality. So we'll just agree to disagree there. I feel like some people want, it's always results based analysis. It's like, well, we won, so we were good. How many times have we said when we haven't won the game that we were the better team? Nuances of Fate says we always have to give a goal away. If we don't score more, than we're in trouble. Um, the goal was calamitous as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's just not what I want to see from my back line. It was very sloppy. And yeah, of course, like, Zinchenko was out of position, and that's where it started from. And that's probably why he got yanked out. But equally, there was a lot of sloppiness coming from William Saliba today, and his sloppiness continued on in that goal. And so for me, like, don't expect him to get a high mark, because I watched that entire game. I felt like you're going to give away a goal because you're too complacent. I don't know if it's just too easy for Saliba. I think I'm like, it's just so easy for him that, he can lose the ball and be sloppy and recover it. But getting bodied by Awani for me is like, should be a wake up call to be like, listen, I still need to like keep it tight, keep it tight. Unknown C says the team played well up until the opposition box. Then it's rinse and repeat play. We lack creativity, unpredictability, and chaos. I agree with that 110%. Saturdays equals you said Forrest fell asleep on the first goal. And that kind of felt like similar to the Luton goal that we scored, where it was off of a throw in. I don't know if you guys remember that, but we're very like switched on, like, and set pieces and throw ins and stuff like that. So we'll score goals from those situations because bad teams switch off. They do. They switch off, and you need to capitalize from it. But before that, I don't even think we had a shot on goal. So it's like, it's great that we did that and we're switched on and we can take advantage of set pieces and stuff like that. But realistically, Arsenal, if we're going to win things, we need to be better, like, throughout the game. And we should be testing the goalkeeper a little bit more. Again, I would say a lot of teams come up against deep blocks, maybe not as much as we do, but I would implore you to watch them and see if they struggle as much as we do on a consistent basis. Tawanda says Awani is a genuine threat. He is definitely a genuine threat, especially to that Arsenal back line because he scores every single time. Social Join says we are not going to do anything in the final third until we get a direct striker. Jesus only scored because he ran the channel instead of false nine crap. DJ Polar says Awani ain't a small man. Just allow this one. I'm not. I'm not gonna allow this one because if Virgil van Dijk had gotten bodied like that, we would be talking about how Saliba was better than him. Saliba cannot be getting bodied by certain strikers like that. It was sloppy, and it was just. It was to me. It was calamitous. He's one of the best center backs in the league. I expect better. Doesn't mean I'm writing him off. Doesn't mean I hate him. Like it doesn't mean anything like that. But Saliba's sloppiness caught up to him. He was sloppy the entire game. Watch it back. Watch it back. He was sloppy the entire game. He lost the ball and recover it. He would do his, I don't know if he was just like, I'm just so much better than Forrest. It's not going to be a big deal. As soon as he came up against somebody that was half decent, boom, goal. He needs to do better there. He needs to do better there. Like Saliba, we know he's that guy. Oma says, seriously, we can play great football. We dominate teams. We just can't crack them open enough. ESR look good. He brings something different. I like it. I think I have thoughts on Smith Rowe's performance because I'm struggling to remember anything that he did significantly better than anybody else. And this is why I'm very cognizant of giving a lot of praise to players that play when the game is already broken open. When the game is already 3-0, it's so much easier to look good, especially at home, than when you're away from home from minute 1 and you're still trying to break them open. So I think ESR was good. I think, he didn't look out of place. He won the ball back a lot. He kept the ball ticking. I don't think I've seen him enough in the positions that I would like. There was that one move that he had, and we'll talk about this again because obviously we'll get back to him, but there was this one move that he had where Zinchenko slipped it through to him. We just didn't see enough of that. In those wide areas where the triangle is basically like Jesus, Emil, and Zinchenko, because at that point we had pushed Martinelli central, which I liked. We didn't continue on with it. I don't know why we disbanded it, but first 15 minutes of the game, Gabriel Jesus had come out wide, and Gabriel Martinelli had gone central, almost in the center forward position. And so in those wide areas, it ended up being Emil Smith Rowe, Zinchenko, and Jesus doing the triangles on the right-hand side. You know who it always is. It's Odegaard, Saka, and Ben White. And I'll be honest, I feel like we are incredible. We were very sloppy and slow in those triangles in the wide areas. And any time that we were good with them, we created a good opening. Now, once we got to the final ball, we still were shit at it. Ben White got one opportunity where he was in a really good position and he just could not, for the life of him, find the one person that was open. Emil Smith Rowe did really good with his. Saka got into that position, delayed it. So again, like I would just like to see a little bit more clean passing in those triangles out wide. But that's me nitpicking. Goal, Ollie Watkins. The comeback's on. Let's see. John says ESR was the only one who forced his chances when he had it. The others passed when they should shoot. Jim says Smith Rowe didn't put a foot wrong. Not going to complain about that lad. Not every player can shine. He performed his role. But here's the thing, though. It's like when you say, okay, well, he didn't put a foot wrong, and he did his role, and he didn't shine, and he performed in his role. That's disingenuous because when anybody else plays in that position and does the same thing, you guys are crying for ESR to start. So again, like when you're trying to win the position off of somebody else, you almost have to outperform them, in a way. And I don't think Emil Smith Rowe outperformed anybody. I think he looked largely similar or was as effective as if Havertz had started there or Trossard had started there. That doesn't mean that he was poor. That doesn't mean that he wasn't, like, he didn't do his job. But I do think it's a little bit disingenuous to be like, well, he didn't put a foot wrong, so I'm not going to complain about it. Well, even when Havertz doesn't put a foot wrong or Trossard doesn't put a foot wrong, they don't score goals or anything, but they're a part of the, they do the build up and they drop deep and they keep the ball ticking along and they have one or two good openings. People are bitching and complaining about it, so I do want to, I feel like we need to be very fair here. I know there won't be any fairness because he's Hale End and everybody wants him to play and he probably should get a run of games from here, but if I'm honest about the performance, there wasn't anything to write home about, but he also was just fine. He was fine. He was not poor. And again, the whole team to me was underbaked. So it's not an Emile thing. It's everybody was underbaked. There was no difference to me, if I'm honest, except for that one run that he made. Tawanda says no difference between Havertz or Trossard starting in left 8, same as ESR. Martinelli struggling. Saturdays equals use says I agree. ESR had a lot of work to do if he wants to get back into the team. Aegon says no, Havertz can't turn and run with the ball. I don't get your ESR agenda. To me, it's not an agenda. Like it's not an agenda. It's just exactly what I'm seeing. I feel like you see what you want to see. You'll see the couple of times that he turned and ran. And I honestly, I'll go back and watch the game and see, and I'll come back tomorrow and tell you guys if I feel like I'm wrong about this, but I didn't see many moments of him in the pocket turning and running with the ball in central areas. I saw the slip pass from Zinchenko into Emile Smith-Rowe. He did really good there. Passed it to Jesus, and nothing really happened beyond that. He won the ball back quite a few times. He kept it ticking. But a lot of those are the same things that, you know, Havertz does, so I just want to be really fair about it. I feel like you want to see what you want to see sometimes. And I don't see it. Like, I didn't see it. So yeah. James says the Forest goal was just luck on the touch. I think it was really good play. Oh, you mean Forest's goal was just luck on the touch? Um, just luck, but you make your own luck by taking advantage of the opposition's, sloppiness or whatever. And we were sloppy. Let's see. C. Wilder says he was more direct than Havertz, I think. Okay. He was some people again, I feel like people see what they want to see. Neil Gunner says ESR getting his fitness back after 70 minutes he was shot. Again, I feel like people won't hear this because they've switched off from what I've said, because I didn't say that Emile Smith-Rowe was amazing. But what I am saying is that, like, I think he needs a run of games in order for us to truly see, because it's hard when you haven't played a lot to, you don't have the fitness, you don't have the camaraderie or the connection with your teammates, and that builds over time. So, but I'm also not going to lie about what I saw, so I'm not going to lie about what I saw. Dale Carragher says ESR played it safe. And I think, when he starts, he does play it more safe. And when you're not up 3-0, you do play more safe. And that's why I didn't really take a lot of stock out of that last 20 minutes against Crystal Palace, because Crystal Palace are awful. They're in crisis right now, and we had already pretty much won the game. So, there wasn't much to take from it. Carl says ESR is not at peak fitness, unlike Kai. ESR next time. Definitely said that multiple times. Tawanda says ESR will play one game, then gets injured. Hopefully not. Nostradamus says Saka played the full game yet again, is so frustrating. Tawanda says that's the left 8 role, guys. I think ESR is, and this is the thing, Winning Ways, it says ESR just ain't talented. He is talented. The thing is that I feel like we want to see what we want to see. The left 8 position is, to me, no matter who plays there right now, I don't see much of a difference. I don't. I'll be really honest with you guys. I feel like Havertz, Trossard, and ESR so far, all of the performances have been between good and meh. Nobody has been outstanding in that position. Nobody has really taken it, and ran with it. And I think anybody who's saying that, if you feel like ESR just took it and ran with it today or did anything spectacular, I feel like you're lying. Now, he was good, but there was just nothing really beyond it being he did his job, and that's all. Like that's all it is. And again, like I've already said, I think he should get a run of games. And you've already switched off. I know you have, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse, because it wasn't anything to write home about. Anybody who's saying that it was, I feel like, is just putting more on it than it needs to be. Super Kai says the question is, would you start ESR against Liverpool? It's a very good question, and we'll definitely dive into that on tomorrow. We're actually going to do a live Cannon Club for you guys. Get your notifications on so you don't miss out on it. But we're going to that's a really good question, and we'll definitely ask everybody what they think, because it's a bone of contention. I feel like some people truly do feel like ESR has done enough to keep the position. I don't think he's done anything to lose it, but probably my gut feeling right now is play Jorginho. That's my gut feeling. Esteban says, personally, I'd like to see J20 start against Liverpool. That's exactly what I just said. James Bond says, "Get off ESR, please. That's his first start in 2 years." If you think that what I just said right now is being on him, I would say that I'm sorry you feel that way, but you're in your feelings. Like, I haven't said anything bad about Emil Smith Rowe. I haven't said anything negative about Emil Smith Rowe. I just said that the performance wasn't anything special. And so I'm not on him. Again, if you're not listening, I feel like he should get a run of games. But against Liverpool, let's be serious. Like, probably Jorginho should probably be starting that game. But if it was Emil Smith Rowe, I wouldn't be mad because he needs a run of games. If you guys just listen and don't go with your emotion, you guys will hear what I'm actually saying and not feel like I'm going in on Emil, because I'm not gonna lie to you guys and say that I felt like he was anything special today, because I didn't see anything special. And you know what, to be honest, I didn't see anything special from anybody today. So that's why these player ratings are going to be very difficult to do, because even though we won the game, I don't think anybody had an amazing game. So, it's not personal to Emil, you know. Raya actually thought he had a good game, didn't put a foot wrong, wasn't at fault for the goal. Claimed cross is good, made a good save, did his job. Deserved a clean sheet, didn't get it. But happy not to be having a Raya conversation. But we're not going to have many Raya conversations unless he chucks the ball in the back of his net, because we dominate 99% of the games that we play. So he didn't put a foot wrong, didn't get a clean sheet, not his fault. But I'll just give him a 6.5. There's not much there in terms of, we didn't have to defend a lot because we had the ball. So Raya, you get a 6.5. Good job, buddy. You did your job. Saliba, gonna be honest. I'm gonna watch the game back, but I feel like he was incredibly sloppy. There was too many moments where he could have just, not taken an extra touch. He had one in the first, or he had actually two in the first half where he just lost the ball. He recovered it because he's a fantastic player, but I'm just like, I felt like his sloppiness got to him. And then once he had the moment with Awani, got bodied, ball went in the back of the net. I don't know if it was, again, just too easy for him. Maybe he's just like, because he's so good, he doesn't have to think that much. And so he goes into certain games and it's just like, I'm just Saliba, so I'm just going to do it with my aura or whatever. But today he wasn't great. So I want to give him I feel like I'm going to give him a 6, and I'm going to stick with it. And I don't care what you guys say. To be honest, it's a 6. Like it wasn't great. I could actually have gone lower, because the whole game I was watching him, and was like, this is not it. Jim says Raya had 0 to do, then Forrest scored a lucky goal, hard to knock him. Kenneth says bad day at the office. Mr. Happy says Saliba was a 6. Esteban says honest 6.5. He was good in build up. Was good in build up. Here to there says Saliba 5. Johnny says Saliba 5. Yeah. It wasn't amazing. Like it wasn't. It wasn't clean. It wasn't a clean performance from him. It wasn't a clean performance from him. But again, I don't hate him. So please, for the love of God, if we could get over this whole, like, you have an agenda against a player because you don't give him a high rating, we need to graduate. We need to graduate from that. Ben White, I actually thought he had an okay game. Won his headers, didn't have much to do. In the attack, there was 1 or 2 moments where I'm like, the final ball could be much better. But that's how do I feel? He definitely wasn't like Saliba. So I want to give him a 6.5. I feel like this might be a little harsh. I'm gonna go with how I actually feel, and if it's not how you guys feel, that's the difference of opinion. I don't know if I felt like it was great. Patrick said he put in 2 crosses from the overlap. He did do that. Esteban says Ben looks more fit than before the break, but his final ball was poor today. 7 for me. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like we're kind of like in the same, boat here. Here to there says 6.5, solid in defense. Winning Way says he needs to overlap more. Patrick says Ben a solid 7. So yeah, like set between a 6 and a 7. Juice says yeah 6. Tawanda says White 7. So yeah, somewhere between there, like not bad, but good. I don't know. It's hard because again, watching, if you actually, it's not results based. If you actually look at it based on like the result, obviously comes into play for sure, because if you lose it, it's even harsher, right? Or you draw. But watching it, I didn't get the feeling that I thought anybody was outstanding. Now, probably the player that, if Gabriel Jesus, when we get to him, it's gonna be, and it's gonna be funny when we get to him. We'll talk about it. But I actually thought Gabriel was good today. He had like one little dodgy moment back there, but I still think he was solid. I wonder why, like against Palace, we could find his head, but against Nottingham Forest, who are the worst team on corners, we just couldn't figure out a way to get it into the mixer to his head. Why we overthought and overcooked it, like a week after we, you know, figured out the secret sauce is just to kick it and put it straight on his head. I don't know. But I actually thought he was good. I don't think he was particularly at fault for the goal. At all. I don't think he was at fault for anything. So I'm gonna give Big Gabby a 7.5. Maybe a 7 would have been better. What did I give Saliba? 6.5? No. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with the 7.5 because I feel like maybe that's a little bit extra from the last game, but I don't know. I feel like Big Gabby is doing a good job right now, so yeah. Patrick says another 7 for Big Gabby, played a little bit within himself today. Winning Way says, R, give me another needle. um, let's see. Let's see. The Arsenal Perspective says, good afternoon and good evening, fellow SKA crew. Kendo says, yes, Arsenal win, but I am not certified by their style of play. They must know time for looking for the goal and time for playing what they want. Blank Face Killer says, Big Gabby a 7. Dale Carrico says, always go what you feel. Do not hedge. Johnny D says Saliba 5, Magliash 7 for me. So yeah, maybe I may have over egged it a little bit, but I got a good feeling like leaving the game, like Gabrielle had a really good, like a good solid game away from home, like a usual away from home Big Gabby game. Not a lot of things to do, but I didn't feel any type of way, if that makes sense. Texas Cannons, thank you so much for your super chat. Says an annoying comment. Being disingenuous is not simply being wrong. It means the person speaking is intentionally misrepresenting the truth. Yeah, that's being disingenuous. Did I say disingenuous today? I don't feel like, I don't. When I say people are being disingenuous, sometimes I feel like because it's a certain player, you will if you like the player, because I do this as well. Sometimes I can be a little bit disingenuous about certain players' performances because I like them. But I'm honest about that. Like if I like somebody, I'm like, well, I'm a little biased. So, but I feel like some people, if I say that I feel like ESR was good, but it wasn't anything to write home about, it was just like a standard performance, people feel like I'm being like so mean and harsh. But then I'm looking at them when they're like, no, he was great. He did all, he turned on the ball. He did this. We all watched the game. Come on now, like it could not ever be that. Like it could not ever be that. Like, and also watching us all together, not even just ESR, I just feel like when I look at the timeline, when I look at all my group chats, when I'm looking in the chat, there's like 300 of you guys in here, and almost everybody is saying, you know what? We won, but we weren't great in attack. And somebody's like, how could you expect more? I'm like, come on. Come on. You know we could have done better than this. Come on. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying is that like sometimes I do feel like we over egg things to paint a picture that's not quite there, because we like certain players or we don't want any sort of negativity, but I'm just not going to tell you what you guys want to hear. But I also will just say that sometimes it's just a difference of opinion, but I do feel like some people are doing it knowingly. Like I feel like some people do it knowingly. So yeah, but love Gabby. I think he's having a good run of games right now, and I'm glad that he's fit. Zinchenko thought he had a good game, bar not being in line with everybody else. He definitely has one in him almost every single game. But the problem that we have right now is we don't have a Tommy to yank him out for. There's no Tommy. And that's really where we're at right now. We're in a position right now where Zinchenko makes that mistake and doesn't, hold the line with everybody else. But you bet your bottom dollar he's going to start against Liverpool. And so I feel like have we conceded almost every single time that he's done that? I feel like we have. And so it's a constant theme. He just doesn't maybe he doesn't trust his pace or whatever. He's just not switched on or whatever. But for a lot of people that don't like Zinchenko, they'll look at that and be like, well, it cost us a goal, or, not look at what like Saliba's culpability or the other defender's culpability is on that goal, harp on that, say it was all on him, and then forget all the good things that he did. Because I actually thought on the ball, he did a lot of good circulation of passes, but I also thought he was one of the main like people that was taking a little bit too long too. So it was a mixed bag. We concede off of your usual fuck up. It's on the bingo card, Zinchenko fuck up, boom, like it's right there. You were good in possession, but you always are. That's what I expect. But you weren't moving the ball quick enough, in my opinion. You were just kind of holding it and sticking it under your toe. Um, Mixed bag, very mixed bag. Um, might be harsh, but I feel like it would have been a 7, but it's a 6.5 because you didn't hold the line, buddy. You got to hold the line. And Arteta yanked you out, which makes me think that it was a fuck up. I think it was for real a fuck up. So again, it was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag. Mackenzie says, "Thank God Salah is not playing on Sunday. I'll just wait." Sorry, my language is not always the best. I'm sorry, you guys. Winning Way says he could play the 8. He could, but there's a reason why they don't put him there, and I wonder if it's because they know he cannot do it. Curtis Royal says the entire attack flows through Zinni. It does, and that's why when the attack flows through you, but you're taking that extra touch, you're slowing it down, you're like at a dead stop, you know, you slow it right down to 0. I'm like, can we not speed this up? Are they about to score? Sorry, I'm distracted. Yeah. No, that's a great save. That's a great save. So yeah, Tawanda says Zinchenko was more visible than ESR, but that's the way that we play is very still skewed towards how does Zinchenko play on the day. If Zinchenko plays good, we usually play good. Last season, it was more if Odegaard plays well, we play well. Now it's if Zinchenko plays well, we play well, right? And so that's not to me how I would love my team to play. Now, that's where we're at. Without another option, the way that we play is that Zinchenko is basically the left center mid controller, and he's our main progressive passer in there. And whoever's at left center mid is kind of just an accoutrement to the main dish, So it's a tough one with Zinchenko because I feel like sometimes I'm just like, get a defender to defend, get a midfielder to midfield, get a striker to strike, and maybe that would simplify everything. But I understand why we try to do things this way because when it works, it's really good. But when it doesn't, it's like it's just extra. Super Kai says if Zinchenko is ricking down the left, we have nothing out there. Or if Zinchenko is ticking down the left, we have nothing out there. Kenneth says we have a chance to pass forward, we pass back. Johnny D says Zinchenko was class above ESR 8 out of 10 if we disregard that definite mistake. That's the thing. It's like if the mistake is not there, I'm probably giving him like a 7 or 7.5. But because the mistake is so consistent and it led to a goal, I have to take that into consideration. But I do think that Zinchenko does a lot of good shit, but almost every single goal comes down that side. It just does, So I rate Zinchenko. I think he's good on the ball, but we have to figure out a way to be effective in possession without him because he's not good enough. He's not at Trent Alexander-Arnold, where I think you're willing to take on his liability going the other way because it's not the same. It's not the same impact. You're not getting the same risk versus reward that you get with Trent. So we have to figure out a way to be effective in possession without him. And right now, we're not. So maybe that comes with Thomas Partey coming back, and then you have Thomas Partey and Zinchenko and Declan Rice in there, and that beefs us up a little bit. But right now, it feels a little one trick pony. It really does. Oh, you didn't play. Sorry. Little cameo, not really going to talk much about him and Kivio. I don't really think that we need to spend a lot of time on the players that came in because they basically just defended the 1 goal lead or, whatever. So I'm going to go on to the players that, played a significant role, if that's okay with you guys. Let's go with Odegaard. I'll be honest, and again, this is me talking to somebody that really rates Odegaard. I didn't think he was great today. I think he we're getting into the stage at the season where I'm like, I've seen you have maybe 2 or 3 really good games, and every other game has kinda been in this category where you're taking too long on the ball, you're not taking enough shots, you're you're struggling, and so without him playing at his top level and without Saka playing at his top level, I'm not really seeing how we're gonna win anything significant because I feel like they're so important and there's no one else is really stepping up. We don't have another number 8 that's gonna step up and make it so that Odegaard doesn't have to be important. There's not another winger that's gonna step up because Martinelli did not have a great game either. So with I'm just struggling to really understand why the entire front four is just hasn't shown up for the season. Now, they have scored goals and come up with things here and there, but on a consistent basis, I feel like I'm having more of these types of feelings about Odegaard and Saka and Jesus and stuff than the good ones, So, but Odegaard specifically, I feel like, I don't know if it's because of the role change, he's coming a little bit deeper, but I need you to release the ball quicker. Like when you take shots when you're not open, but you don't take shots when you do, it's really, really frustrating. It's really frustrating. And so he needs to step up. I'm assuming that he's fully fit now, so there's no hip injury. And I just expect a lot more from him because, again, last season, if he played well, we played well, even the season prior. Right now, it's a little bit like, I don't know if we can get more from these players, if it's just the tactics or whatever, but individually taking bad touches, taking too long, I feel like those are individual things, so not a great game from him. Will probably seem a little harsh, but like Saliba, I'll probably give him a 6. I felt very similar about their performances, just wasn't good enough, it just wasn't enough for me, Maybe I have to rewatch it and see, but there was no, you know, special passes, there was no like, I wanna actually go into his sofa score now and see, like, because again, I'm going off, my instant reaction to something. But my instant reaction to the game was that I didn't feel like I saw a lot from him on the ball. That was what I'm came to know from Odegaard, which is breaking the game open, clever passes, being creative. I didn't see that. And so I want to like again, I'm fair. Like if I don't think a player's played well, I'm gonna say it, even if it's a player that I really like. Um, he got an 8.1 on SofaScore today. That's wild. Did he get an assist? He had an assist before the assist. Um, 89 minutes played, 0 goals, 0.28 expected goals, 0 assists, zero point 0.6 assists, expected assists, 93 touches, 87% accuracy, 4 key passes, 1 big chance created, 1 shot off target, 2 shots blocked. Ground duels won. He won half of his ground duels, so 3 out of 6. He won his 1 aerial duel. Uh, I don't know how he got this score. I don't know when he got this score. I don't know. Like, I guess he was better than I thought. I don't know. But I don't always take this into account because I've seen high scores and I've thought like that performance was not good, but whatever. He was to me, I need to see much more from my front four and especially Odegaard because I expect a lot from him. That's all. It's wild the score that I just seen. That's crazy to me and that's why I don't take those little things that seriously, but he did touch the ball a lot, but I just wonder if how he's using it, is it the best that he can use the ball? Lots of touches doesn't equal effectiveness, and I feel like I'm not seeing enough effectiveness from him. So, yeah, yeah. It was wild. The Arsenal perspective says Odegaard must cook on Sunday. He must. Juice says he was a 7 for me. Elliot Roberts says Odegaard 6, a bit underwhelming, but he did his job. Patrick says solid 7 out of 10. SofaScore indexes different things. Exactly. Tawanda says it's a no for me, 6 for Odegaard. Winning Way says put Odegaard in Man City team and we would be calling this guy elite. Um, Aegon says, rewatching, you'll see. Sometimes the rewatch does work, but today I don't think it's going to work on me. I don't think it's going to work on me. I'll do it. I don't think it's going to work on me. I really don't, because I felt overwhelmed by the entire performance from everybody. So I feel like I'll still feel the same. It's an interesting one because, again, we've already spoken about Emil, but we'll speak about him again. Is that I thought he was good. I thought he, like some people said, he did his job. I don't think he looked out of place. He had a couple of good moments, like, the moment that he had where Zinchenko slipped him in, and then, he tried to give it to Jesus and Jesus couldn't get to it. He had decent moments, but it was just like a good performance, that I feel like if you removed him and you made that Kai, I do feel like you guys would feel differently about it. I feel like there's a little bit extra mustard being put on it. Now, there's context. He doesn't start all the time. He's coming back off of injury. So I'm definitely taking that into consideration. So taking all that into consideration, I feel like he was like I feel like I'm being very like kind. But like a 6.9. Not quite like a 7 or an 8. Like maybe I'll give him the 7. I'm giving it a little bit extra, for sure, because I'm struggling to find a moment where I thought him or anybody really made a massive difference beyond the goals and assists. That's it. Like, those are the only times where I felt like there was any level of quality in the final third, right? Um, and I'm still not even sure how I'm gonna give Jesus an amazing score when I feel like he didn't play well, but he got a goal and assist. It's hard. Like, 7, 7, 7. Super Kai says, I don't think you want to rewatch after the first half. Um, I will be rewatching the whole thing just to see what some of you guys are saying, because I want to see this. He was receiving the ball and turning and doing all these things. I want to see it, but I didn't see it. The Arsenal perspective says, I think ESR is still getting to match sharpness, and again, I've taken that into consideration, and that's why I feel like he needs a run of games. But again, like a lot of people said, as soon as ESR gets into the team, that Martinelli would spring into life, because ESR is so much, he's much better midfielder. Martinelli was still very much so on the outside of everything that we were doing. So to be honest, I think the left center mid position is a little bit of a it's more about the position than the person. Maybe if you have different people, you get some different qualities, but I think everybody pretty much does the same thing in that position. They get it, they pass it off, they pass backwards, they keep it ticking, and they make runs in the box. I don't think anybody like Zinchenko is always going to basically be our left center mid. So whoever plays there is going to play mostly in and around the box, ghost, and things like that. And so I think that impacts what Emil could contribute, but I think that also contributes to whoever plays in that position and contributes, because that, to me, that position is much different now than it was when Xhaka was playing in it. Much different. But again, I would like to see Emil get more time, because if this is his baseline, I'm assuming that he can, you know, add more to that for sure. Winning Way says, I don't even think he starts for a lower team in the league average. I would rather us have Lingard on free than him. I feel like you're being incredibly harsh. I think he starts for Villa. I think he would start for Newcastle. I think he would start for a lot of teams that are below us. I feel like that's incredibly, like, super harsh. The guy says we should sell ESR. Patrick says, I hope left center mid competition makes both ESR and Kai better. It just feels like a lost position right now. We're not getting anywhere near enough out of it, but I don't understand what the role is meant to be, because if it's only meant to be like a couple touches here and there, a little bit of build up role, I don't get it. Kenneth says, let's not go into despair over a performance of a side tonight. We have a big game this weekend. Yeah, I don't feel like there's any despair. I feel like it's just what it is. Like, it's also like, as Arsenal fans, because we're much better than we were before, some wins are just not going to feel as significant as others, because we're meant to win this game. We don't have to peek through and try to see things that aren't there. I feel like some people want to be, like, because we're so used to being bad for so long, that we forgot that, like, sometimes when you win a game, it just is kind of a win. So I don't feel like being slightly underwhelmed or just like, huh, we won the game is despair. It's just a reality that sometimes, like, when you're a much better team now, unless the performance is outstanding, a win kind of just feels like a win sometimes. And I feel like, again, that goes back to my point about a lot of the things that we talk about now are first world problems. We're not the same team that we were 2 or 3 years ago, where we couldn't score a goal, we couldn't win a game. Like, we're a much different side now. So some of the things that we complain about they may seem frivolous because we won the game. But again, these are the same kind of conversations that Liverpool fans and Man City fans would be having if they were putting in the performances that we were. Because right now, it's obviously results based, but our performances are not lining up. I feel like with the eye test, so that's all it is. It's not despair. Super Kai says it's not despair tonight. It's just a standard 3 points. However, it's just another underwhelming performance and the same problems we've seen since preseason. That's kind of, yeah, exactly. It's not despair. It's really not. Fan says people are selectively ruthless to specific players, in my opinion. I agree with that. I can be that way. I feel like because I know certain things about myself, I know other people do it. Like, I am a lot more forgiving to certain players than I am others because I like them more. When you have an emotional attachment to a player, you tend not to be able to see. It's like normal relationships. When you're with somebody that you love or something like that, you're less likely to see red flags than you are when you're like watching your friend date a bum. Do you know what I mean? And so it's that's just how it is. It's like, and that's why I know, like, with this specific player that we're looking at right now, because there's such an emotional attachment to him, I do feel like people can't really see, like, they're like, "Well, of course he's gonna come good. Of course he's the player that he was 2 years ago." I'm kind of trying to see it for what it is. I don't know if he's that same player. I don't know if he can replicate that same form. I don't really know where his future lies, but would I like to see him get a true chance? Would I love to see him get, like, a true run of games so we could see it? Absolutely, because it's still a meal at the end of the day. Like, I would much prefer a meal to be that guy than him not to be, because that would be sad. Hold on real quick. Now, I didn't put it on do not disturb, and I don't know why I didn't. So that's all it is. Let's go on to the next person. Let's go on to Declan. Um, I felt like he struggled, but I also feel like, and people will hate me for saying it, I don't think he was fully fit today. Arteta did say that did everything he could to make this game, but there was one moment where he could have reached and did his usual, like, reach to win the ball, and he didn't, and he kind of like touched his hamstring. I don't think he was fully fit. I think he was playing a little bit with that injury in mind. Now, did we need him to save us? No, because it wasn't that type of game. Uh, I'm sure some people will probably feel like our issues are around Declan Rice, but I do think when you're kind of in the final third the whole time, it's really difficult for me to see how it could have been our DM's fault that whenever we got into those positions in and around the box, like, I don't really understand how it's like, it's not a 9 times out of 10 for us, it's not a progression issue. It's because we're already in their half. Could he speed up play a little bit more, maybe hit players between the lines? Yes. I do struggle to see where the players are that are between the lines, because when I watched us today, we are very much so in 3 lines. It's our back line, which is like Ben White, Saliba, and Gabriel, and then it's Zinchenko, Rice, and a lot of times it was Odegaard in a line, and then it was like the next line, which was like Emile and Martinelli and Jesus and Saka. And so some of those players I'm struggling to see when they showed their feet. I felt like Gabriel Jesus showed his feet a lot in between the lines, but it's not really like there's a lot of options to hit in between the lines. But I thought he was just okay. He was just, we didn't need him to save us. So he's never gonna look as good in these games. Maybe he could do a little bit more on the ball, but if I'm looking for more creativity on the ball and more ingenuity and stuff like that, I'm probably looking for that from Odegaard and Emile and maybe Zinchenko, but not necessarily him. But I'll give him I'm gonna give him like a 6.5. I thought, like Raya and maybe like Ben, they were okay, but they didn't do much. And so again, I'm struggling to find anybody who I felt like was like, oh my God, you were so good. Like, everybody was a little shit today, so I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, Sean says, I feel like Declan was playing with an instruction to take the foot off the pedal. We were dominating possession so much, people would have to be besides themselves if he re-injured and missed Liverpool. There was just that moment where he like looked like he was gonna try to, and he just didn't, and he let Morgan Gibbs White go beyond him. And I was like, listen, I get it, because if you miss Liverpool, everybody will be like, why did you play him against Forest? And but I don't know if we would have been the same if we had just played Jorginho, but I don't know. I don't know, you guys. It is what it is. Nostradamus says, I demand a rewatch. Maybe we'll do one. Tawanda says Rice wasn't amazing, but he did his job. That's how I feel about like almost everybody. That's how I feel about almost everybody. They weren't great, but they did their job. I'm finding it hard to like, the only player that kind of disappointed me more than the rest was Saliba, because I was watching him the whole time and I was like, why are you out here losing the ball like this? Like, you don't need to. But everybody else, I was just kind of like, you are all right. Fan says, I can't point who was great, but I can say that Zinchenko was the worst. I don't think he was the worst. I feel like if you think he was the worst, it's probably because you just don't like him, because there's no way you could have watched today's game and thought Zinchenko was the worst player out there on the pitch. There's just no way. There's just no way. Like, I don't know. Nostradamus says 9 out of 10 tackles made, 67 out of 71 passes made, 6 interceptions. Those are the Declan Ricey things. I feel like people really want him to be Partey, and I don't necessarily feel like I agree with that, but listen, until you're never more valuable and more like loved than when you're injured. And so as long as Thomas Partey is injured and we're not playing amazing without him, it'll always be that once he comes back, he's going to save us. So I'm aware of that, but I don't think Rice is doing much, to be slandered the way that he is by some of the fan base. I feel like it's a reach. Kasim says Rice is learning and improving constantly in attack while being rock solid. And by playing like all of the games, he's been in every single game. So, so there's that, that's important. It's not important for some players, but, he's there. Let's see. Boy says we are inverted FC. Kenneth says Thomas will be fit for Liverpool. That was a good thing as well, that like we didn't play him. If you're gonna, from now until the end of the season, if you're gonna want Thomas Partey to be fit, idealistically, you'll just play him in the games that uh the most important games. So when we go away to Porto, in the Champions League, when we play against Liverpool and towards the end, I would basically save him for those and keep him on ice, because he's just not a player that I would risk for a Nottingham Forest or, a game like that. So I'm actually glad that we didn't play him today, because we are able to win with terrible Declan Rice on the pitch, and he could be saved, for Liverpool. So he could save us. So yeah, let's see. Errol says he's so tall, don't get it. Who are we talking about? Johnny says, I do not disagree. Partey should have played 15 to 20 minutes to get match fitness. Um, if you think that he was fit enough to do it, he didn't even make the bench today. So I don't know how was he meant to play if he wasn't even on the bench? A lot of people said that he would be fit for Nottingham Forest, only for him not to even be in the squad. So, yeah, I don't know how you give minutes to a player that's not fit enough to make the bench. So hopefully he's fit enough to get onto the bench for Liverpool. But again, like, people want to rush him back in just for the sake of it. And then we'll be mad when the guy is out again, So there. Winning Way says Rice don't offer nothing on the ball. He can't pass forward and he doesn't know how to do 1-2s. The guy says Arsenal fans twerking for Patino, but don't rate how important Rice is. Listen, there are a lot of examples of nonsense, but listen, if you don't like Declan because he doesn't pass forward enough, even though statistically that's untrue, let's just wait for Partey to get back and see if he saves us. He won't. So there you go. There you go. Let's see. Next, Saka. Weirdly, another poor game. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't feel like he played well, but he got a goal. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's not poor, but like, I felt like he slowed us down so much in the final third in the first half. Like, I felt like I was looking at him like the most. I thought our left-hand side was actually more effective than our right, albeit like nobody was effective. if I'm honest. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, nobody was like insanely effective, but I thought the left was actually better than the right because the right just was so like, we're gonna take a touch, take a touch, take a touch, take a touch, you know? So I don't know what's wrong with Odegaard and Saka, but they need to get back to the point where they're doing those little 1-2s and it's like fast because now that it's like each of them want to take a million touches, it just stinks. Um, but he got a goal. So, and that's how I felt about the performance of like Trossard and Jesus against Palace. People were like, how could you give them low scores? I'm like, because beyond the goals, they were poor. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So I'm gonna give him a 7, but like a stinky 7, you know? Like you got away with it, but it was stinky. You know, I don't know what to tell you. 7 asterisk. Yeah, like it was crazy. Esteban says Saka was fine. He did a little down the right, but he had our best shots, took the goal well, 7.5. He had a couple little moments where he got past whatever that guy's name was, but that guy is tragic. Like Tofolo or whatever the frick his name was, he was awful, you know. So I don't take much stock in Saka getting by somebody that, you know, was awful, you know, but yeah, it's just I don't know. We've said this every week. What's wrong with Saka? What's wrong with Odegaard? What's wrong with Martinelli? What's wrong with Jesus? Why don't they look the same? Why do they look so shit? Why don't they take shots? Why don't they pass? Why don't they cross? Why don't they finish? Why don't they blah blah blah? So listen, you know, good job, Saka. You got the goal, and that's important, and that's all that really matters. But I just felt like the overall performance was meh. And so that's it. You know, Elliot Roberts says Saka 7 goal and always a threat down the right. Job done. Sean says getting a goal contribution is what you expect from your stars, even when they're having a poor day. That's why they're your stars. The guy says Saka shooting and crossing is off. Chosen One says, by the way, Saka is the first Arsenal player to get 10 plus goals and 10 plus assists since Alexis Sanchez in 2017, 7.5 for Saka. Patrick says, Saka was good today, Jess. He was the benefit from a rewatch. Trust me, I will definitely rewatch it. You know, you guys are calling for rewatch. I'm rewatching it. When I rewatch all of our games, unfortunately, sometimes I have to rewatch our bad games, but I will rewatch this one because you guys are saying like we have so much difference of opinion that I feel like I need to watch it with clear eyes. Barry says, I think Saka looked more sharp tonight compared to our bad run in December. He seemed to be moving better. I think he's about to explode again, more energetic. He better because listen, we've played only like one game in like a year, you know? So but that's a good thing. It's a good thing that we haven't had to. I mean, obviously I'd like to play more games and be in more competitions and things like that, but the trade-off for that is that your players are fresher, and I think some of our players like Ben White, like Saka, need a little rest. So, you know, I hear that. Nuances says I've tried to avoid the argument, but Saka hasn't been well for a while now. Yeah, there's a difference of opinion, you know, but again, 7 asterisks, you know, I was looking at it, it was a little stinky, but you know, he did some good things. Martinelli, what are we gonna say here? I'll let you guys take the lead. I'll let you guys take the lead on this one. He had a different left center mid, an ESR. Nothing changed. I mean, he gave away the ball early on in the game, and I was like, oh shit, you know. Um, and I was like, I don't know if you're gonna do it. I just have a feeling you're not gonna have a great game. Because when Martinelli is good, he's like very sharp. He holds onto the ball, he moves fast, and he was moving slow. He beat his man a couple of times, but he does this thing too where he beats the man and then tries to beat them again. And it's like, okay, the moment is gone. You beat them, just Martinelli is 5'11. This thing says he's 5'11. But that's a sidebar. Let's see. Um, I'm looking at like the shit that he did today. Uh, Not much. 53 touches, 92 accurate passes or 92%. He had 0 accurate crosses. He won 3 out of 8 ground duels. He won none of his headers out of 2. Yeah. not amazing here, but not terrible. But I'm struggling to see anything that he did. Maybe I need a rewatch, you know. But again, the weird thing about this is Martinelli looked poor, but Trossard looked good. Trossard looked good. I thought he was the brightness off of the bench. So, but then if Trossard starts against Liverpool and doesn't play well, then you guys will be begging for Martinelli again. Fundamentally, I feel like there's just something wrong with our attack. I don't think it's just like an individual thing. I feel like they've all had a collective fall off. And I'm not sure why that is, but I'm going to give Martinelli a 6. I thought he was, pretty non-existent, and so he gets a 6 just because I can't think of anything bad that he did, really. I just don't think he did anything, really. Juice says, "We knew his profile before spending the cash, though." You guys are talking about something else. Van says, "Trossard always plays good off the bench, though, in my opinion." Barry says, "Trossard twice, after Forrest goal kept possession so well." He did. Sean says Martinelli is 5'10", which in pro sports in measurement standards means 5'9" and change. Okay, fair enough. Tawanda says 4 for Martinelli. That's really low. That's really low. Robert says, has she covered ESR twice? We covered ESR twice. Winning Way says Gabby's still running with the ball now. Some say he's is on the M25. This guy don't look up and he's just guessing. Giving him a 5. Mr. Happy says Patino was benched today in Swansea's biggest game and people were twerking for him. I mean, Emil's been benched and people say that he's the guy. I don't think being benched means that, especially in the championship when you're a young player doesn't mean much. But I get your overall point. Tawanda says his decision making is poor. Kenneth says Martinelli 5. So yeah, I think all of us kind of agree that it wasn't great for Martinelli, but again, I'm not picking out anybody specifically. I think the entire team was underbaked. It's going to be so weird talking about Gabriel Jesus because I feel overall he really pissed me off so much the entire game. I was like, oh my goodness. When the freaking commentator read out this stat and said that we had one away goal from our center forwards this season, and that was Gabriel Jesus against Luton, I was like, oh my goodness. I'm not even shocked because these guys don't score. They do not score goals. Then Jesus turns around and scores, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. But we still have a center forward problem. 2 goals all season away from home from our center forwards is diabolical. We know that Eddie hasn't scored an away goal since last year, December 31st last year, so they don't really score away from home. They don't really score that much at all. And so we do have a center forward issue. But again, I think one of the things that has annoyed me the most is that, Arteta went into the press and said we had one of the most thinnest squads after spending 65 million on Kai Havertz. And it's like you had a choice to make where you could have beefed up our attack or beefed up our midfielder with a quality player. Now, a quality player doesn't have to cost you 65, 75, 85 million. There are quality players that went other places for less than that. And we chose not to even address one of those. And so for Havertz to be what will end up being a very glamorous luxury signing squad player, to do that and then to complain about having a thin squad and then leave us with Jesus and Kedia as our main strikers for the season and also not address left center mid is negligence as far as I'm concerned. So Jesus again got the assist, got a goal, but he's getting these goals and assists and shit, and it's not really it's not improving his overall performance. Now, Harry Symeou did say that he has a heavy strapping on his knee, which leads me to believe that he is dealing with some sort of knock or injury, or he just hasn't ever really recovered from that knee. Unless he gets his explosiveness back, he's going to look like this. Like, one of Jesus's best qualities is his sharpness and explosiveness, and he doesn't have that right now. So, a goal and assist is probably the most that we can ask for, which is not, it probably seems like, oh my God, like, how could you be upset that, he got us a goal and assist? But again, I'm watching with my eyes and I'm saying, when we get to the latter stages of the season, when the pressure is on, when we have to play against better teams, how is this going to fare? How is this going to fare? we should be beating Nottingham Forest pretty simply. Like, they're a very poor team. They're in 16th. Like, we should be able to beat them. But again, this was a team that struggled against Fulham, who's about mid-table. We struggled against West Ham, who's upper mid-table. So I don't take much from this. We should be beating Nottingham Forest, but I don't think this is going to translate to the better games or the bigger games. But I'm just waiting on the attack to click. I don't think it's going to click, y'all. I think this is pretty much who we are this season. But Jesus, you got a goal and assist, and I like, I don't know. It's always going to seem like I'm being overly critical, but I'm just going to have to be overly critical. So he's going to get an 8.5 from me. A lot of heavy lifting from the goal and assist for sure, but overall performance was, and that's kind of how we've been all season. Our overall performances have not been great, but we've gotten the job done. And so that might just be who we are this season, and expecting the free flowing stuff to come back is not going to happen. So Patrick says this is the Prem, Jess. There are 0 easy games. Every game presents unique challenges, and sometimes a low block is just as hard as high flying big club, potentially. But again, we're talking about the difference between being a team that is in the top 4 and a team that's going to win the league. And so again, I'm talking about the fine margins, and I'm not talking about whether or not we're a good team or a bad team. I'm talking about, are we good enough to win the league? Are we good enough to win a major trophy? Are we an elite team? Or are we just a good or a very good team? So when I talk about things, I feel like people come at it from the 2-3 years ago Arsenal, and they're like, well, how could you, we won a game. What do you mean? And I'm like, I don't think we're bad. I think we're very, very good. There's a little bit of a difference between us and the other teams, and that difference will inevitably bite us in the ass. Like, I feel like it's already has, but listen, usually these things come back around. Usually these things come back around. When we're unable to beat the big teams because these same issues come around that we've had against Nottingham Forest, they rear their ugly heads against the better teams or whatever, then people come around and they're like, "Oh my gosh," so yeah, it's I don't know what to tell you. Kenneth says, new month, hopefully good things for us Gunners. The guy says, man said Patino is better than Jorginho. Dale says, Jesus 9. Do we win a game without him? Strikers should be graded on output, goal, assist, post. He can suck for 87 minutes. Scoring is all that matters. Make sure we keep that same energy for the games that he does not get a goal or assist. And people are talking to me about the fact that he ran around a lot, So again, I'm just calling it how I see it. Mr. Happy says Jorginho is a very competent player. Your ball knowledge is worse than Lee Gunners. You guys are talking about Jorginho for some reason. Johnny D says goal and assist under a 7. You need to get your brain checked, man. He's obviously going to get a higher grade from me than anybody else because he got the end product. But I think it was just an unconvincing performance from everybody from me. But again, I can't we're winning games, so what can I tell you? I don't know. I feel like people are trying too hard to make this into something that it's not when we all watch the same game. Patrick says, yes, for sure, there are fine margins. I agree. We have issues to sort, but Forrester, no pushovers at home. I mean, I think Spurs beat them pretty easily. Somebody else beat them pretty easily. Teams that are in and around beat them pretty easily. So, again, there are no pushovers for teams. There's no easy games, you guys, but I feel like I remember some when Arsenal women, they lost the first game of the season to Liverpool at the Emirates. And I was like, that is just shocking and it's unacceptable. And people were talking about how hard the league is now and how everybody has all this quality and all this da da da. And I'm just like, yeah, but we have infinite depth in our team. And so as the league has gotten better, our squad depth has gotten better. We've become a better side. So just because Nottingham Forest is not an easy game doesn't mean that what I saw should not raise some questions or has not answered some of the questions that I've had since the beginning of the season. I don't really care how good of a team Nottingham Forest are. They're in 16th, so the table doesn't lie. They're not a very good side. Most teams are more difficult to play away from home, but Arsenal are a team that are fighting for the title. We are not a top 4 team or trying to scrap Europe. So, Nottingham Forest should be difficult and we should have to work for it a little bit, but I still have major questions about our abilities in the final third because not a single game has really been convincing in terms of what we're doing in the final third except for maybe like Lens at home, in the Champions League, So again, it's more about that than anything else. Like a win is a win for sure. Fan says both can be true. Exactly. Let's see. I think both can be true. That we and like Tawanda says, Arsenal won ugly. We did win ugly, but almost the entire season we've won ugly. So when are we gonna win? Not easily, but when is it? Again, we're still waiting on something to click. I don't personally, I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna click. I think this is who we are, but that's it. Tawanda says City lost to Wolves, Arsenal lost to West Ham, and Fulham. The league is ruthless. It is, but I also don't like to use City's losses as a justification for us not playing well because City are also capable of going on a 14, 15 game win streak, and I've yet to see us be able to do that. So, yeah, that's all. But yeah, let's see. Blaze says, Jess, I get what you talk about unconvincing performance. Let's see how we perform in the next couple of games, including the Champions League. I agree. Hopefully, we start to see an uptick in our performances and the results match those performances as well. That's all. Like, I'm like, listen, we won the game, and that's all that really matters. I can go to sleep and know that, Arsenal did not drop points to a terrible team, and that, and at one point I was scared that we might. Listen, you guys, make sure your notifications are on because you guys asked for us to do a live Canon Club on the channel. And so we're going to do that tomorrow. It'll most likely be in the evening tomorrow, maybe around 8 or 9. So set notifications just to make sure. I will go live earlier than that as well. Diluted will be on either Thursday or Friday too. So you guys are going to have tons of content coming your way. Um, on Friday, I'll actually be doing a live stream for Bleacher Report right after the game, but I will also do a stream later on that evening. So I haven't forgot about you. I'm going to do that for Bleacher Report, and then I'm going to come back on the channel and do a live stream for the Liverpool game. So I will be here. Don't worry. But make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, and all that kind of stuff before you guys leave. And yeah, we will talk again tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys.